welcoming people.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm just going to give everyone a few minutes to start popping in. Let's see. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Couple more minutes. Let's see. Jeff, are you in here? I'm not sure if you could hear me. Morning. Hello. I'm just going to wait a couple minutes. I'm trying to get Jeff on here so that I could add him as a panelist, but I'm not finding his name. Okay, yeah, okay. So Jeff, if you're in here, I'm not sure, Nina's gonna resend you the link. We're not finding your name on the attendees list. So welcome everybody who's here right now. We're just gonna give it a couple more minutes just to get Jeff in here so that we can add him on so we can share his screen. My name is Emily. I'm a product specialist at Tech. Welcome to making in-class instruction available at home. Okay, there's a couple more people coming in. Also, if you see my screen, my clock is wrong. See. Couple more minutes. As soon as we get him in here. Was everyone hearing? I see Nancy asked if I have an echo. Is everybody else hearing that echo as well? I'm sorry. Let me try to lower this a little. Is that better? It also may have been Nina and I are kind of close to each other. Maybe our microphones were intertwining. Sounds okay? Okay, thank you guys. Okay. Oh, okay, I see that. Thank you, Kevin. So again, for anybody new, we're just going to give it a couple more minutes so that we can get Jeff in here. We can share his screen. Welcome. Thank you for coming today. Okay, so I'm sorry, everybody. We're just trying to get Jeff in here, Nina is going to send him a different link to use. Again, for anybody new here, hello, welcome to making in-class instruction available at home. My name is Emily. I'm with Tech. I'm a product specialist. I've been working with Audio Enhancement for quite some time now. We've been working with them and their family for many years, adding amazing audio solutions into classrooms all across the US. So this newest product that we're going to discuss today, Jeff is going to introduce to you, is called VIEWpath, and it kind of intertwines audio and video streaming into one. So as we're moving into hybrid learning and distance learning, we're going to be able to kind of have all students have the flexibility for teachers to stream all students their lessons all at once. So if you have any questions at all during the session, you can hit the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Or there's also a chat button if you just want to get the conversation going. Tell us where you're from, give us some feedback. Oh, hi, I see Jeff is here now. Welcome, Jeff. Okay, so if anybody has any questions, again, I'll be monitoring the chat box. You can go into the Q&A or the chat box, whichever one, just start conversation, tell us where you're from. And Jeff, I'm going to pass it over to you. I'm going to unmute you now. Hello.
Hi there.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you now. Let's see.
And then, Emily, I need to see if you can let Rose Powell, our special guest, and Kevin Mitchell, who are also attending.
I know that Kevin is in here and Rose is in here as well. There we go. Okay, so we can change them both to panelists.
Thank you.
Okay, so Jeff, if you want to take it now, I'll change them to panelists, and I'm going to add your screen.
Okay. It's not letting me take my screen yet.
There we go. Make host, and there you go. It should work now.
Okay. Fantastic. We should be able to. All right, well, what we wanted to share today, is that good?
Yep, perfect.
All right, well, I'll introduce myself really quickly. And then again, I know everyone wants to really hear from somebody at the school systems. And so we've asked Rose Powell from Bibb County, Georgia to join us today because she's well-versed and well-experienced in some of this technology. So I want to welcome her. And then I also have Kevin Mitchell, also as a representative of Audio Enhancement that can also contribute in. But what I wanted to do is do a higher level presentation to start out with, because most people are asking us questions about the pandemic and what kind of technologies can be used for this pandemic. And I know we talked a lot about in the introduction of this about cameras and things like that. So really quickly, that'll be the meat of the meeting, but real fast, I wanted to just introduce myself and our company. We've been founded for over 40 years. Our founder is actually my mother, and she started Audio Enhancement back in 1978 for the sole purpose of trying to help my brothers who were hearing impaired in the classroom. And they wanted to be able to help them hear in the classroom. So she designed a system really just for them, not for the nation that it's gone into now, but to help kids hear no matter where they sit in the classroom. Because what Audio Enhancement is and what we believe in is that no matter where students are in the classroom, everyone should be able to hear no matter where the teacher walks or talks and no matter where the student sits. So that's been our goal for the last 40 years. And the reason being, as you can tell in this slide, is that there's a law of physics called the inverse square law that talks about every time you double the distance of speech, of distance between the teacher and the student, you're going to lose 6 decibels of speech. And so with that, that's how our company has been based. But as we've gone into the next normal, a lot of people have approached us and said, well, how do these microphones work once a teacher wears a mask? Will they still work? And so we went in and figured out that they do still work tremendously well. And for many of you, I believe, when teachers come back into school, there's lots and lots of talk and CDC guidelines suggesting that teachers wear masks. So with that, we wanted to share this information with you about what that'll mean when a teacher comes into a room, or if a teacher were to come into a room wearing a mask, what happens to the intelligibility of speech. And I think we've all, for the most part, experienced that. If we've ordered food or whatever might, or even at a grocery store, what have you, someone wearing a mask is much more difficult to hear what is going on with that. So what we did here is on the far left is we did an analyzer, a speech analyzer, where a teacher is speaking and they speak the same sentences, but you'll see as it goes from left to right, the middle one is a teacher wearing a mask with no microphone. The far right is a teacher wearing a mask with a microphone. And what you will see is the intelligibility of speech. You really want a lot of green and a lot of yellow. That's the better intelligibility. And when the microphone is on and when a mask is being worn, it's critical to get that intelligibility of speech for the students to hear. So as you look at that in your districts, you might want to, and I know a lot of districts are already looking at it from the demand that we've had, but you need to look at and consider what will happen when a teacher wears a mask. But the idea of audio enhancement is not just for, teachers wearing masks. It's an everyday solution, and it's an everyday solution that helps teachers no matter, with or without a mask. It's a necessity in classrooms. So we have a portable and an installed solution. So before we move on to the camera, Rose, would you like to contribute anything on this part of the presentation?
Hey, Jeff. So I noted, this is Emily. We have to actually, if you can pass the host abilities back over to me so that I can make Kevin and Rose the panelists.
Okay.
I was able to do that when I had the abilities, and then I passed it over too soon. Did you create the host? I'm sorry, what was that?
I stopped sharing my screen.
Okay, at the very top, actually, if you could do it, you could go to participants on the bottom of your screen. And then when you see their names and attendees, there'll be a little piece for more where you can make them panelists, and then they'll be able to unmute themselves.
All right, Rose, you should be allowed to speak now.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. I don't think I have the camera option, but I definitely have the unmute. So hello, everyone. I am so glad to be here with you today. My name is Rose Powell. I'm the Executive Director of Technology in the Bibb County School System. I'm also a veteran teacher, taught math in middle school, and my daughter teaches. So I'm going to talk to you today from the teaching perspective, because that's where audio enhancement really makes a difference in the classroom. With the audio, there are students in the back of the room who like to be in the back of the room, so that they're a little bit harder to monitor. And with the audio enhancement audio in the classroom, the 4 speakers in the ceiling allow for every student in the classroom to hear the teacher speaking in a normal voice better than if the teacher were speaking in any other manner. So with the audio enhancement, it is like a teacher using a megaphone to get to that student in the back of the room, but that student is able to hear in a calm teacher voice. As a teacher, in order to talk to all the students in the room, we have to raise our voice. We have to have what's called that teacher voice. Not only does that tax teachers' energy level and voice, we get laryngitis every fall, We have trouble with our voice every fall. Those of us that have actually taught in the classroom know exactly what I'm talking about. It wears on our vocal cords. And so it's a very good thing for the health of teachers and the energy level of teachers to be provided with the audio in the classroom. And just think about it. We wouldn't be expected to present to a room full of adults without an audio system. Why do we expect teachers to do it day in and day out, all day long in the classroom without the audio? And the other thing I wanted to share is it's equity in the classroom for all students. It's the ability for all students to be able to hear clearly. And when I would talk in my teacher voice before using the audio enhancement, my students thought I was yelling at them. Because what we don't realize as teachers is when we use our loud teacher voice, we're not able to talk in a more calm, compassionate manner that lets students know that, hey, we want you to learn this. We want to inspire you. We care about you. But when we're talking to them in this loud voice like I am now, it's hard to come across very compassionate and very caring. And so that is a huge difference maker with audio enhancement. With the audio portion, I also want to share with you a very true story. My daughter has been teaching for 10 years in the 3rd grade classroom. And she's fortunately had the audio enhancement in her classroom. And when she forgets to put it on, sometimes her students will say, Miss Graham, you don't have your microphone, because they want her to wear it. They like it when she wears it. But also during her pregnancy, she was having a really hard time. And she's a very dedicated teacher that doesn't like to take off. And with the audio enhancement, she told me, Mom, I would not have been able to stay in school, in the classroom, the whole 9 months, as long as I did, if it wasn't for audio enhancement. If I would have had to exert that additional energy to speak to my students, to raise my voice, to walk around and make sure that they could hear me, to repeat myself so many times, I would not have been able to sustain. And so that in itself is a huge, huge benefit to students, to have their teachers more healthy, and to have those teachers who may be going through pregnancy or any other health issues, that they can maintain that classroom. So as Jeff was talking about earlier with the masks, I can't even imagine. I'm an executive director of technology now in a school district where every classroom has the audio. I cannot even imagine trying to teach with a mask on without a microphone projecting the voice. So it is imperative that we work with our students. And the next thing I want to share is about the VIEWpath, the cameras. Wow, the cameras in the classroom. The cameras in the classroom allow for so many opportunities for teacher professional development, for students, remediation. But let's just talk about the professional learning. The self-reflection piece. Here in Bibb County, we have what's called Get Better Faster teacher training at the beginning of the year. It's based off of the Get Better Faster book by Paul Santoya. Talks about the routines and establishing those procedures and processes at the beginning of the year in those relationships. Well, we actually practice that with our new teachers, and then we ask our new teachers to film themselves on the first day of school and spend a few minutes after the day to reflect on, how did I do? We don't ask to see that. We just want the teachers to see themselves as the students saw them. The teachers told us that that was one of the most rewarding activities that they've ever had, is to be able to watch how they implemented or didn't implement as well as they would have liked to, and continually get better. In our professional learning communities, we use the exemplar teacher videos in order to talk about what's right with that. And we also use those that the teachers are willing to share, what did I do wrong? How can I do this better? They learn from each other and they share. The virtual coaching is an amazing piece that is with VIEWpath now, to where the coach can actually put the comments in the video and share out those comments at the exact point in time that that part of that teaching lesson is occurring. The delivery of lessons is just a click of the button. It's so much easier now. Technology makes it just a easy peasy cakewalk for teachers to be able to take their videos, as you see on the screen now, with the teacher sharing, and then you can also share the panel. And with a click of the button, you can choose to save it to a USB, straight into OneDrive, straight into Google Classroom, and straight into Canvas LMS, which we're excited about having in our district this year. The integrated system delivers directly to the LMS, and our teachers are so excited about this integration this year and how they're going to be able to video their mini lesson, the most important part where the teacher is presenting the information, and click it with one click into Canvas so that the students can review anytime, anywhere, with their parents, without their parents. Students who missed school that day can review the lesson as if they were there. Students who are on hospital homebound can view as if they were there. And as you notice, the camera is at the front of the room, and you can arrange the room where all that you see, there are no privacy issues. All that you see is the teacher and the panel. And it's just a very good way for instruction to be communicated without the teacher having to re-deliver, to re-communicate, again, that voice level problem that all teachers have. So the interactive portable, you can use any type of camera, have a network connection to the camera, a power outlet for beam. So there's a combination of a beam, the EduCam, the floor stand, and you can adjust it. So if you don't have the camera in the ceiling, you can have this other combination of a portable camera as well. And one of the great things also is when teachers find a really good video clip when they're out and about, or when they have this great idea, they can also use their own camera, and they can use that camera to create the video and upload it into their VIEWpath so that they can prepare it for students to be able to have it in their lesson. The teacher controller is web interface. It's LDAP interface. Camera has access to teacher controlled. It's really exciting because the teardrop microphone has a record button. All the teacher has to do when you're in that moment and you're like, man, I need to reteach this, I want to record it right now, you just press that record button on the teacher microphone. You get the crisp, clear audio. It records independently of using VIEWpath. We have the ability for live recording and live streaming, which we're very excited to get started this year. And one click stops and uploads directly into our LMS. There are no, I see a question coming in about the legal issues. There are no legal issues with FERPA as long as you are only using the camera to show the mini lessons, arranging your classroom in the right way. With lecture capture does not capture the entire classroom. It only captures the teacher at the front and the panel. Also, as you know, when you're only seeing back of heads, that's not a FERPA violation. And honestly and truly, the only students that are seeing the lesson are the students that were in the classroom or should have been in the classroom themselves. So you are putting the lesson into a learning management system, which is controlled by student sign-in and password, OneDrive, Google Classroom. All of these things that you're putting this lesson in are controlled through the Google Classroom or the Canvas or the OneDrive. Side-by-side video, the video that you see at the bottom is a picture of the teacher at the front, along with the panel. And you just be very creative to make sure that you're not showing the students where you see the teacher at the front. And then the panel view shows the view very clearly on what's being showed on the teacher's desktop or the teacher's classroom panel at the front of the classroom, which we have and we're very excited about. VIEWpath Live, VIEWpath camera system really lends to blended learning. Blended learning, of course, flipped classrooms when you're sending everything to students ahead of time. When you want to actually have a 5 or 10 minute mini lessons for the student to preview before the class, this is also awesome. So the teacher is at the front of the room, and the students who are not in the classroom, let's say for instance, this COVID pandemic we're in right now, the modified hybrid model is half the students social distancing in the classroom while the other half are at home. Well, those other half that are at home can be viewing the classroom live. And so you would be social distancing in the classroom, and the other students at home can be viewing exactly what's going on and submit questions as if they were physically in the classroom themselves. So with the camera system, again, with live, you can live post it to Google Hangouts. You can post it live to YouTube if you have a private YouTube channel. Of course, to Microsoft Teams, which is, again, password protected with Google Hangouts, and also Zoom, which is also, you'd have to have the Zoom meeting and the Zoom password to get in. So there's just a various amount of ways in order to stream live with the blended learning and the remote option of this pandemic learning in which we're talking about.
Thanks, Rose. That's awesome. I don't know, are there any questions? I can't see those currently.
There was another question from Caitlin. How would you see the questions? I think she's referring to the questions from the students.
Yes, so the students, you can see the questions whether you're in Google Classroom, whether you're in Teams, or whether you are in Zoom. They can chat the questions. In Canvas, you have a way for them to chat the questions. So they can ask the questions with whatever platform that you are posting the live or the recorded session. So you have live and recorded sessions that you have an opportunity.
Okay, and is the camera able to follow the teacher around the classroom?
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jeff.
Oh, that's okay. So there's two different camera options we have, both of which one of them takes the whole front of the room, which is be a 90-degree angle, so it doesn't physically move, but the teachers can focus it in on a certain part if they'd like. But most teachers have reported back to us that it's distracting to have noise in the room as a mechanical camera moves. So this one doesn't physically move, but it has a 90-degree angle, or we have another one that does the whole 360-degree angle that can, that can see the whole room in every corner from front to back. So that's what Bibb County has too.
And if I can share one of the great things for administrators is we allow our administrators and our teachers, the teachers are allowed to, and we've gotten permission from our State Department of Education, because with technology comes change. And as an administrator, it was very difficult for me to be able to get into the classroom with all of the things that happen during the day that must be handled during that time. But we allow our teachers to submit one 20-minute observation for their teacher observation to the administrator. Then the administrator is able to watch that after school or during their time. And so they love this option because they are able to really focus on the teaching aspect and what the students are doing in the classroom. I will say for that, teachers have control of the cameras. Teachers have control. No one else can see the cameras unless they give them permission. They are able to share specific videos without sharing their camera. And so teachers, there is no gotcha or uncomfortable feeling at all. We have process and procedures in place that our teachers are very comfortable with our camera system, and we have one in every classroom. I also wanted to address real quick the question about FERPA, and does this become part of the school record and the recordings have to be kept for years? No, it does not become a part of school record. School record only requires that we keep their finalized grades and their semester grades for years to come in their permanent records. So recordings, just like their essays and things like that, are not a part of school record.
All right, awesome. Kevin, do you want to take over right here for a minute?
Yeah, I'm happy to. And I don't know why this has been far more popular during the pandemic, but my thought process is we've had a lot of students that are trying to learn from home. And if those students' native language is not English, it's likely that the parents' native language isn't English either. And when they were trying to help these students along with their lessons, a lot of the questions we got was, can my student's lesson be translated into our native language so that we can follow along and help them with their classwork should they be learning virtually? So here's a small example of a video, just so you guys can get an idea of what the camera looks like. You can see the lesson capture that's taking place in the background there on Tony's screen, but it's also being recorded and stitched along with the video on the right-hand side. And then on the right-hand side above the lesson capture, you can see it is live, real-time being translated into Spanish. So if you had the student that was watching from home and needing to follow along in their native language, they could do so through that tab. We have...
Sorry, Kevin, just want to cut you off really quickly. We had one more question. Does VIEWpath
Sure.
work with Schoology?
Yes, it does. And I don't know if Jeff is muted, but yes, it does.
Yep, certainly does. And then here's just some of the other languages. We showed you Spanish, but there's lots of languages in which the translation capability is available of what Kevin was showing there. So, and then just here's just a little review of some of the great things about VIEWpath is that, and thank you, Rose, for what you had to say, and please chime in if there's anything else that we've missed, but the recorded video along with live video is really critically important, because there's just going to be kids that aren't going to join live every day. But if you have a recorded video, not only can the students go back in and watch it, but let's say, and I've heard this around the country, let's say I've got a great AP chemistry teacher, but I don't have enough of them. Could that AP chemistry teacher share his video with other AP chemistry students that are maybe not assigned to him as supplemental learning? And so, and I had another district say, well, look, we could just, with this technology, we could create our own, you know, district-wide Khan Academy and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that can be done if you get a good quality camera in the classroom. And then what we've done is we've built around the camera all of these integrations. So,
And Jeff, if I may add, being a teacher in the classroom myself, a lot of students won't ask questions. They may not hear something and they're afraid to ask because, of course, how many teachers say, I just said that? I'm guilty of it too. Were you not listening? Then the student has access to the mini lesson in their learning management system or in their Teams or in their Google Classroom, OneDrive, wherever you put it. So our teachers are learning to record their mini lessons when they're teaching. As we know, that's only a portion of the instructional framework that happens in a classroom every day. Then you have your independent work, your support work. But those students that are apt not to ask the questions can go back and watch the video and pick up anything that they didn't hear. And you know, with this type of technology, my question is, why don't all teachers have access and all students have access to this to become the best that they can be?
So we have a couple more questions. Will this work with the iLearn platform?
yes, it should. There shouldn't be any problem.
And also just in regards to compatibility, will it work with Google Sites
Absolutely.
and Seesaw, just to confirm?
Hey, and I can comment on all of that. So there's tons of options for them to put it in any platform they want, and the integration level varies between each one, but every one of them integrate with our platform. So they can either download the video, put it into it, they can use an embed code, they can do it via an API. I mean, there's tons of ways. And the cool thing we've done is we're non-proprietary. We don't care what system the districts are using. We'll integrate with any of the ones that are out there and anyone that's willing to allow the videos to live within their platform.
Perfect, thank you. And then one last question that we have right now is, would students miss those teachable moments that occur during a lesson if only the mini lesson is recorded and streamed, or is the intent to have a continuous stream?
So it just depends on the teacher and how their instructional framework is set up in their classroom. You definitely don't want to stream quiet time. You definitely don't want to stream time when students are just working independently, that just, you know, is something that's not needed. But I'll remind you that your microphone has the record button. You can start and stop recording with the click of the button with the lanyard on your microphone. So once you record your mini lesson, as I stated earlier, you're going to have a student ask a really good question, and you're going to say, okay, everyone, listen up. This is a good question. Let me rephrase this or go back over this. That's when I would turn my recording back on or my stream back on, is so that they could hear that. Students who are working independently don't necessarily need to watch other students working independently. So I would turn it on and off, but it's just intuitive for a teacher to turn on the recording when they know it's something that they're addressing whole group instead of an individual student. So if it's something as a teacher that I know I want all of my students to hear, that's when I would push the recording. And it becomes very intuitive once you have that system. And again, just the energy level with the audio, I cannot tell you how much it saves teachers' voices, and how teachers who don't feel well feel better just because they're able to come in and not have to exert additional energy. Not saying teachers should come sick, not at all. But, you know, just that tired feeling at the end of the day. I try to remind people who have left the classroom and maybe are principals and superintendents and administrators, you know, try to present at a superintendent's meeting all day long. Try to teach your principal something new all day long. We don't do that because when we do, it's exhausting, and teaching is an exhausting profession. So when we have technology like this and audio enhancement, I have seen others is the best of the best. When we have technology like this, why aren't we using it to make teaching better for teachers, better for students, and better for the profession?
Thank you, Rose, for that. And Kevin, thanks for your help. Emily, anything else you'd like us to address?
I don't see any extra questions in here right now. I know that somebody did have a question about purchasing for district level versus individual schools, and that's something that we can definitely discuss if you want to reach out to us after. There are a few requirements for purchasing and installation that we would have to meet, but we could definitely have that conversation with the tech representative. Does anybody else have any questions right now that they want to pop in the chat or the Q&A? Any comments?
While we're waiting on that, Emily, one last thing I'd like to share that I'm very proud of our schools doing is our teachers are sharing professional development videos so that when we teach new best practices, when we teach instructional technology integration, we use the cameras and use actual classrooms. I always hear through professional development, and I know you've probably heard the same thing, well, that's all fine and great, but that's not what our classroom looks like. And so our teachers don't say that because they see it is in our district, in our classroom. And so we're recreating exemplars and, again, non-examples of what we should do and what we shouldn't do. And especially with our Get Better Faster. In our training, they're watching the previous year's new teachers train. And it's exciting to see that. We don't rely on other videos from professional researchers and those things that don't even look like our district. And to be able to have those videos to teach your teachers in your own classrooms makes it real and makes it relative. And that's probably in the professional development realm, one of the most exciting things that we've seen.
Well, thank you, Rose, for helping us with this and giving people the, you know, the real life examples of someone that's had the equipment in their school district and in every classroom. So appreciate you joining us. Emily, Tech, thank you for allowing us to be part of this.
Thank you. We just had one more question from Barbara. She just wants to know, is there a central repository for schools within the LMS, or will it be on individual teacher accounts? And I think that's something we should address with everybody, that it would be on the individual teacher account as long as the teacher has an account for that classroom, correct? in regards to archiving videos, etc.?
Yes, all of the videos and lessons are archived under the teacher's personal account.
Right. Perfect. And then one last question, does it keep track of who has watched the videos?
Yes, it does. And you get to choose who you share it with. So as a teacher, if you wanted to share your lesson with another teacher, not only would it mark whether or not they've watched it, it will tell you how much of the video they watched, and you get to choose who all has permission to watch.
Okay. Are there any other questions? We're also happy to answer any questions after this. If you come up with anything that you want to reach out to us with, you can always do that. Okay. Well, it doesn't seem like any other questions are coming in right now. Thank you everybody for attending. And if you would like to check out any of our other sessions that we have going on this week, you can check them out at tech.com and go to the events tab. And it'll give you all of the sessions that we have. We're going through Thursday, and you can sign up and register for any of those just to get the invite. We'd love to have you there. And thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Rose, for your presentation. And if anybody, again, has any other questions, send them our way, and we're happy to answer.
Thank you, everyone. And
Thank
if
you,
you
guys.
want your district to stand out and have the best instruction possible, you'll look into this type of technology.